Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Aaron,
And Daniel.
thank
To my
you.
right, your
Thank you.
left.
So, summer
hmm
gets hot.
hmm
I wonder how southern states are. Humid.
Probably just as hot, but humid.
I
Yeah.
remember Texas. Texas was pretty rough
Yeah.
in the summer. Oh, yeah.
hmm
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas was rough. Dallas was hot.
Yeah. I know we were crying about it. So we're from Northern California.
Yeah.
We had a couple weeks where it was, I think the hottest day was like 113. And that was like just an oven for me. I'm not used to that. And apparently in like Arizona, it's like 120 on average, like during that
Yeah.
same week, so I stopped complaining, but you get the point.
Yeah. Well, but summer brings a lot of bugs.
Yes, it does.
With a lot of bugs, you get a lot of complaints, and so we're dealing with so many different insects. And being in California, we deal with a lot of the companies are dealing with the same exact pest, right? Um, to blanket across the board, at least here in this area, Northern California, and I'm sure even Southern California is a lot worse on some of these insects. Ants,
Mhm.
of course, right? You're going to have your black widows. I'd say spiders in general, but black widows are a big one because people freak out when they hear, or see a black widow.
Mhm.
You get your outdoor cockroaches,
Mhm.
right? Your wasp.
Wasps are huge right now.
Yep. If you go up into the mountain range, not too far, then you start getting into hornets.
Mhm.
And so you're getting different types of wasps and bees in that category, but it's all about the same anyway.
Mhm.
What else?
For insects, I think that's
You get some earwigs, fleas.
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of like we kind of want to do like a seasonal pest episode. Like I'm going through like a lot of the service calls. It's like
Yeah.
ants and wasps are like 1A, 1B right now, and then the outdoor cockroaches, and then your occasional black widow. I mean, we have a little bit more stuff on the vertebrae side, which we'll go over, but for insects, that's about it.
Yeah, your outdoor cockroach is a big one.
Mhm.
That's why I say down south, you're probably getting a
Yeah.
lot more. Um, but you get the differences there. And we've had a lot of episodes on ants. You could go back and listen to an ant specific episode,
Mhm.
and what to do and how to do that. And what
Mhm.
we know today, starting with ants, there's so much you can do, and how you do it is going to depend on the success of it. And you can make an ant service very detailed.
Yeah, you can.
We learned that from Sylvia.
Mhm.
Uh, and how you're doing that ant service is going to depend on how well you're going to take care of it.
Sure.
So if you want to go on the intricate part and going off of what Sylvia talked about, what are you spraying? When are you spraying your repellent products and your and your non-scented products? What are you doing there and when are you doing that? She gave us really good examples of treating the foundation with your non-scented products,
Mhm.
and then you're going to go out from the house and you can go even scented products there, or you could go scented around the foundation and go non-scented on the out, depending
Sure.
on where your insects are.
Just depends.
So you're going to get so many different variables. Are you using baits? Are you using the granule bait,
Yeah.
or are you using a gel bait?
Mhm.
So what are you doing there, and
Sure.
where's that? You have so many options. That's the
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
I mean, in some cases, what are you doing to take ants? And because we have so many episodes, we won't focus on ants too heavy.
Yeah.
But what are you doing for ants?
Well, first I'm looking at what the last person did. If it's like a callback specifically for ants,
Yeah.
that's another category. So someone treated the home maybe for ants, maybe not for ants, but then a week or two later we get it called back out because they're still dealing with ants. I'm diving into specifically what the last technician did, what they sprayed, if they baited, what they baited with, where they baited, because
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to do the same thing each time. I'm obviously asking the customer, what are you doing? If I see tons of little taro ant bait stations or I see their own stuff under the sink, I'm like, hey, be honest with me, what you've been doing. I need to know.
Tell
It's
me
like a
it all.
doctor. It's like, tell me what you've been doing, because I got to be able to diagnose it. But, every situation's pretty different, but I'd say just generally I'm using a non-scented product. So
Yep.
whether that's um your Termidor, your Taurus, and then obviously you can use a little bit of Alpine if you're spraying inside. Advion ant gel bait works
Mhm.
great. Certain situations I'll even use Niban to help. I mean, don't really use Niban for ants, but like a
Consider.
granular bait, like the ortho acid. Can't remember ortho. What I can't remember the name of it.
Um, no, I know what you're talking about.
Not bad. You guys know what that
Anyway,
is.
just do a granular bait.
Yeah. So, like, like Daniel was saying, there's a million different ways. It's all situational, though. Obviously, I'm not trying to spray something with too much of a scent, depending on the ant itself or where they're seeing them at, trying to see if there are multiple colonies. But it's a,
Yeah, and the main thing is how what are you doing, and is it a thorough enough service?
mhm,
Because if you're just if they say and they're complaining about ants and you just go spray the front yard and
with
then
whatever's in
leave,
your backpack already.
yeah, it's like, and that's something that we have to drill into our guys' heads, and be a constant reminder even to me, because that's the easy way,
Sure.
and I've done it. I've been out there and they're like, I got ants and I'm in a hurry. I'm like, I'll spray extra heavy.
I'm like, we got stuff. I got stuff in my backpack that's for ants on the label.
Yeah, it's on the
You know,
label. It doesn't do anything, but then you end up going back out to that house, right?
100%.
And so, are you doing everything that you possibly can to eliminate, that colony, those specific ants at that time? Are you
Mhm,
treating the inside, outside? Are you doing all the baits? Are you doing everything that you can to prevent that callback?
mhm.
And in the summertime, with the heat that
Yeah.
we have been getting a ton of ant calls.
Yeah.
And that happens. And so it's a constant meeting that we're going over with their guys. This is how you take care of them.
Yeah.
But talking about ants and then moving on to the next, pest, it's really important to understand your pest. As a technician out in the field, even as an office staff, taking that phone call, understanding the pest to a certain extent is going to help you educate the customer to help
Thank you.
prevent, callbacks, but also it helps you understand, where do I need to spray?
Mhm,
How do I need to spray for it?
mhm.
Right? The dilution rates are going to change because
Yeah.
of the pest, and dilution rates change because of the pest.
Yeah.
It's on the label. If you read
Mhm.
it, we've gone over labels with you guys. But those are all main factors,
Yeah.
Where are they? Where's the harborage area?
Yeah.
What do they eat? If you say, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then how do you know to kill them?
What are they going after? That's right.
Yeah, you can't get rid of them. And that's where, on some other episodes and things like that, does it really matter the chemical, or does it matter more on how?
The application.
Yep, the
Yeah.
application. And I would love to actually make a good argument on that
Mhm.
and test out multiple products. That'd be fun.
No, I'm with you. And a lot of the quality control stuff I go on, it's very clear that communicate or educating the customer is so crucial. And as much as we do have, we do have our meetings with our guys and say how important it is,
Yeah.
it's not getting done enough. It really never is. And I mean,
No.
and that's why it's important, like you were saying, how you're receiving that phone call. That same ant situation, we have a habitual ant return customer on the business side of it who has had ants probably for the past about month and a half, and I've been out there once or twice, but we ended up finding out that we were killing the ants too fast, and he was also cleaning up after we were done spraying. So
Oh
it
gosh.
was a thing, so we're spraying, and don't want to get too deep, but we're spraying like Alpine WSG, like against space boards, against the areas he's seeing them. And he ends up telling me that his wife is super germaphobe, doesn't like, and she wants it to be like crystal clear, so she's like sitting there just like mopping like hot soap and water, like after a couple hours after we spray, and it's like,
Oh, there you go.
well, what do you
There
think is
you
going to
go.
happen? So educating the customer and letting him
Yeah.
know, it's like, hey, this is what you should expect. Here's how long it's going to take before you see results. This is what you should do. This is what you should absolutely not do. And then make sure they understand. It's like, if you do this, if you decide to say, screw it, I'm saying, spray your own stuff anyways, clean up, not remove, the cans and bottles right here. I can't guarantee they're going to go away.
Yeah, and that's where the ant and doing a thorough ant treatment,
Mhm.
if you're only using liquid, so you're spraying,
Mhm.
are you hitting the cracks and crevices? Are you hitting the trail? Are you
Mm.
are you going where the ants are most likely going to be, right?
Mhm.
So when I was trained on it, which was actually a really good training, and I'll give that guy everything else he sucked, but that he did really good, and he knew how to take care of ants. And on one visit. That
Mhm.
was it. He never went back, and we never had complaints from those customers.
Yeah.
But he understood the ants. He understood where they're most likely going to be walking, right? Where is
Mhm.
that trail going to be made? And he knew that. And he would hit every single area. Did we know the ants were there? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We had no idea. But he was so thorough on every crack and crevice and under certain ledges, making sure that he was hitting those areas that we wiped out ants time and time again.
Yeah.
And so where you're applying that pesticide is going to be a massive factor on if you're actually going to gain control or not. That gets to the next one, right? Cockroaches.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor cockroaches. Here, it's Turkestan cockroaches.
Yep.
We have a few: American, Turkestan, Oriental.
Mm-hmm.
Most that we deal with, Turkestan cockroaches.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're not going to talk about German and bed bugs and stuff like that. We're just talking about seasonal pests.
Easy now. Yeah.
Yeah. We have episodes on those. You can go listen to them. Even with rats, we're not going to talk about rats or mice. So don't even wait for that. But cockroaches, the outdoor cockroaches, that's a hard thing to get rid of.
Yep.
Once again, do you know they're reproductive? You know, how long is that reproductive cycle?
Where are the eggs?
Where are the eggs? How quickly do they hatch? How quickly once it does hatch to an adult to be able to reproduce, how quickly does that happen? Do you know these answers?
Is it important to know those answers?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. That's the point. Yes.
I'm glad you asked though.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, well, I don't care.
Well, that's why I said it.
That's exactly what it is you have to know those things, because when people ask and customers are like, well, I'm still seeing the outdoor cockroaches.
Where are they coming from? What's going on?
Yeah. And it's like, well, no shit, you are. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I know you are. And then they look at me like, I don't say no shit. Okay? Yeah. I want to be very clear, but it's like, of course you're still seeing them. I know why you're still seeing them. It's a process to get rid of them. Right. Also, if Aaron went and sprayed and then I go and spray, I don't know what he did. So I'd have to call him and find out. And outdoor cockroaches here, it's very different. Where are they going to be hiding? Underneath slabs of cement. Where do they detach their egg sac? Underneath hard surfaces.
Yeah.
Where they're protected, where we can't see them.
Yes.
They don't put it out in the middle of the floor.
Crevices. Yes.
So you go, and then the cracks and crevices that they hide the most are going to be moist, humid areas.
Under slabs
of cement, next to pools where there's a big crack, where kids are getting in and out and all the water's just draining right there. That's what you're going to have, right? Are you treating those areas? Are you being very thorough and specific on where you treat? Are you educating the customer? Hey, look, with a Turkestan roach, egg sacs, the eggs that they lay, can take up to 90 days to hatch. Guess what that means? If I spray today and then I come out 60 days from now, I still didn't kill those babies. They didn't hatch. They haven't hatched yet. So that's why you need to know your pest and the seasonal pest and how they function and how they work. Now, some pests are easy to get rid of. Cockroaches are a little bit more difficult. Even then, when those eggs hatch at the 90-day mark, they can't reproduce up until a year per the internet. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and I know temperature is a factor on how quickly they can grow, right?
Yeah.
So, and food sources and things like that. Sure. But it can take up to a year for them to be able to reproduce. So their life cycle, and their reproductive cycle is very long, meaning they can't reproduce very quickly. The problem is we just can't see them and we can't find them because they're hidden underneath a massive slab of cement that we can't treat underneath that. So are you treating in the right areas? They're eating dead, decaying plant matter. Why is that important to know? Because I can use Niban.
Yeah.
I could use a bait, that's going to mimic their food source that they're going to eat. And now I'm going to start killing them that way.
Yeah.
So those are all things you have to know. Even when it comes to ants, kind of going back a little bit, you could use Advion ant gel, right? You could use a gel. Are they going to eat it?
Depends
on the makeup.
Sometimes I find out, put a little, see if they go for it.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't.
If they don't, I'm like, cool, now I know.
Yep. Now I know it's got to use something else.
Yeah.
Or I got to spray or whatever it is. So those are the importance behind it. But those outdoor cockroaches, my go-to when I'm treating for those is the cracks and crevices. I'm going to every crack and crevice. I'm trying to hit up underneath if it's a stucco siding, because they'll slip underneath that siding. I'm trying to get that mist up underneath.
Yeah.
The other areas is I'm going for the water boxes.
Yep.
So wherever those are, if I can go pop them off, if I have a screwdriver, and I usually do in my truck, I go straight there. I pop those off. They have little water things on like the driveways and stuff. I'll pop that off and I'll spray around it. Usually it's capped.
Yeah.
You usually have a cap on that.
The one that says sewer, it's like about yay big.
Yeah, they'll just have it on their driveway or next to their house, and it just has a little cement cap on it. You can actually see, because there is a tube in there, and you can see if that's capped or not.
It usually is.
Usually is. Sometimes it's not. Someone forgot to put that cap on, and so they could be coming out of the sewer
Hmm.
system, but I'm spraying in those areas and I'm hitting those areas, so they won't go and harbor in that specific area.
Yep.
Is that a cure all? No, of course not. We're talking
Yeah.
about cockroaches. So,
Of course, and you're just going off of some of the things that worked, and I agree with you. Like anytime
mhm.
there's like a sprinkler monitoring system that's close enough to like a concrete base or foundation, I'm spraying all in that area.
Oh
Or
yeah.
if there's like this little smud box, but it's surrounded by like rocks or bark, I'm just dumping, Niban around there because I
Yeah.
know that it's like it's going to seep down in those rocks and cracks and crevices, and they're going to eat it, especially for homes. And we do
Mhm.
have homes in certain areas that constantly usually have more problems than others. You know what I mean? Homes that are surrounded by bark, or there's new construction or new developments going on in the next neighborhood over. There's going to
Yeah.
be a lot more activity there. So,
Yeah, so it's being thorough in those areas. Are they getting them in the garage? Are they getting them inside their house? That's where glue boards are a great help.
mhm,
And if you can hide them a little bit better so they can't see them,
yeah,
because I've heard conflicting things from different technicians. Some techs love them, some techs hate them. I love glue boards. I
mhm.
just educate my customer. I think that's the problem. The ones who hate them.
On why you're doing it. Yes.
Well, and also let them know I'm going to place a glue board here. Okay. And with it being there, you are going to see insects inside of it.
Hmm.
That's the whole idea,
Yeah.
is they're going to get caught inside of that glue board, but not in your home or not out in the middle where you're going to see them. It's going to be all stuck there. Leave it there until I get back.
Mhm.
Because some people will place them out. They don't tell the customers. They don't educate the customer. The customer sees it and then freaks out because they're like, oh my gosh, look how many bugs I have.
It's like a spider and a cockroach. They throw everything away. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're freaking out because
Yeah.
they're like, well, if the glue board has it, that means there's more.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're talking about is, knowing your insect, knowing what you're doing and taking that time to educate. But on to the next one, right? There's some that are pretty cut and dry and pretty easy.
Hmm.
Now, there's little tips and tricks we'll give the new guys who are jumping on and just listening for the first time. But wasps,
My favorite.
oh, are they your favorite?
They have become my favorite.
They have become your favorite. Okay,
Mhm.
why? What do you do?
Oh, it depends. Yesterday I just sprayed. I'll come back down and knock it down later. A
Nice.
couple days ago, I actually just knocked it out on the first visit. It depends.
Okay.
Um, so the products that at least we use don't have a super quick knockdown, which is fine. It has a residual transfer effect throughout the colony. We usually do it with paper wasps up here in Northern California. I've only had one or two hornet calls up the hill.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was one that
Some
was like
big
a there
ones
was one that was
too.
like a rugby ball. And I remember
Yeah.
I actually FaceTimed Daniel and I was like, all right, dude, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. What do you think? He's like, go for it. And I'm like, yeah, of course you just say go for it. But no, it was
Hop in
fine.
the truck quick.
No, it was fine. No, but point being is paper wasps are pretty easy to deal with. Some of all the services we have, we're spraying up in eaves anyways for them. So
Yeah.
when I do see a wasp, I'm looking to see is it active or is it not. If it is active, I'll usually hit it on my first run around in the house. By the time I go back around as I'm respraying some of the areas, I'm looking, and if there's not many activity and there's some fallen, or if they're all going crazy, kind of
Mhm.
allows me to make that decision on whether or not I'm going to knock it down.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where some of the tips come in, guys, is for anybody who's new out there, and depending on the products you have, there are some aerosol cans that are meant to do a quick knockdown on
Mhm.
wasps so that you can knock down the nest. The problem is a lot of those, there's not a quick there's not a residual.
Mm.
So it kills them fast, but then once it dries, it's pretty much non-existent. Wasp freeze is one. There's not going to be any more kills after that.
It's cool. It's fun.
It is
Like
cool.
to hit the wasp nest and see them all just drop on the ground, but there's no residual.
No, 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 no. There's nothing else there. And I think Essentia came out with theirs or something like that, an aerosol one.
They have a bunch of like little aerosol specific ones now.
Yeah, yeah. We don't use a ton of those because the products that we have work against them and we want that residual effect to kill them all.
Mhm.
So we've kind of more focused on the permanent, not permanent solution, but for at least a seasonal solution for wasps.
Yeah.
If I treat that area, they're most likely not going to have wasps in that area ever
Mhm.
again. For the season.
There you go.
Next season, they'll come back, of course, once the product wears away and is gone, then they can come back.
Yeah.
So the other thing is if you are going to knock down an active nest and you haven't treated that area, you can. And there is a smart way to do it.
Mhm.
I don't know the science behind it. Okay. We got to find a good scientist, bring them on, and we can talk about it. But wasps themselves, they're going to go after whatever's closest and moving. Okay. That whatever they feel is that threat.
Spitting that web head as you hit it.
Exactly. So when you're hitting those wasp nests, if you're going from a distance and you can do that, I extend that pole out as far as I can. So I'm at least 10, 15 feet away, and then I'll knock it down, and then I'll kind of keep bouncing that, because you only have to do little movements
Yeah.
when you're 15 feet away with that pole, because then that thing is going to be swinging up and down and all
Yeah.
over. So you're not going to be moving a ton, but the web head is, and they will dive and attack and go crazy on that.
Yeah.
And you can just sit from a distance and let them go crazy, but you already knocked the nest down. And then as it calms down, they will go and huddle around where the nest was, and you can go and, knock that nest into the grass or wherever you want to, or if you want to pick it up and throw it away, you could do that too. But there are little tips like that for any of the newbies out there. When you're going after wasps, if you do it from a distance, if you drop the pole and run, they're going to go after you most likely. If you don't drop that pole and you're not running, you're pretty good. Even with meat bees, so up the hill a little bit, we deal with meat bees, so more in the mountains.
Those boys are no joke.
Oh, yeah, they
Meat bees are no
attack.
joke.
Yeah, no, they are no joke. Even your yellow jackets, those things are, man, they're aggressive and mean. But it goes back to, what are you doing? How are you doing it? If you're spraying it from a big, from a far enough distance, they don't even associate you as the problem.
There's no way.
Yeah. So it's really nice in some of the, and if you're doing it properly, I can sit there and I'll just spray and I'll just put it down and I'll just stand.
Yeah.
And they'll even come by my head.
Yeah.
But they will not take me as that threat.
You're just sitting there like that, just waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll just hit it and then I'll just sit and look at it, because I'm staring at it still, because I
Yeah.
want to know. I'm like, crap, I don't know if they're coming at
Of
me.
course.
And I've even had some land on my hat. They've never stung me. They've never considered me as the threat, but they've landed on my hat.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, crap. Okay, wait till it flies away, and then they'll fly away, and I'm like, okay, we're good. But you've had that, and then I've had it where I'm walking and they just sting me out of nowhere. So,
dude, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. For those of you who are new and are listening, I've only gotten twice. Both of them were okay. One of them, I was actually being a little dumb. It's like I was on a ladder and I went and hit the nest, and it went on the way down, it broke off into two, and one of the halves ended up hitting like right here on like my shoulder. So that was more so appropriate. The second time was actually recent. I was doing some rodent exclusion up on the eve of a house, and apparently like right here, I didn't realize there was like a nest or something inside, like underneath some like roof.
oh, really?
And that's when it wasn't a sting, that thing I was showing you.
Yeah.
I think it was like a bite that you were saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Because they'll bite you. Yeah.
It was probably about, like that big, kind of red for like a couple days. It wasn't anything. It wasn't painful. Like afterwards, like I felt like someone took like something hot and just like my skin real quick, and I was like,
yeah.
ow, I was like, son of a bitch. And like I looked and it was like flying, and I was like, oh my God, I thought I got stung, but it was a bite.
Yeah, usually when you're going up in those areas, because I'll do it for birds too, just in case there's birds, is I'll take my pole first, especially in the summertime, and I'll go and hit that area.
Pigeon flies out when you're up on the ladder.
Yeah, I know, and it freaks you out every time, just because you're not expecting it or anything. So I'll actually go put my pole up there first to see if there is a wasp nest or if there's any birds, and see if anything comes out.
It's good tips.
Yeah, it is, because I mean, if you're going to be working up in that area and you haven't inspected it yet, or you're not that tech that saw it, you could get into that situation where you got a wasp nest right there. Yeah. And you're just getting attacked, and you have to come down slowly off the ladder. You're not going to jump from 10 feet or 15 feet, So, but you have some of those, right? So next one is fleas. Fleas is always a fun and interesting one, in my opinion, because the homeowner has to do some stuff.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
what are we talking?
Okay.
What do we do here? I guess we'll just give you all the answers. How about that?
First of all, someone's like, I have fleas. I'm like, okay, does your pet have fleas? Do you have a pet? First of all,
yeah,
that's
do you have
important.
a pet? Yeah.
Do you have a pet? It's like, yes, I have a pet. Okay. Have you treated the pet? I find out, at least for what we do, to guarantee us to get rid of fleas, we have to have the customers kind of work with us on that. They have to get their pet treated, and they have to vacuum like a madman.
Yes.
We usually give them about a week, 2 weeks, just to make sure as while we're doing it.
You do it beforehand. You do it after we come in and treat.
I think the little printout we have says 14 days because we're going on the overkill side.
Yeah.
But basically, when we're going in, we make sure the dog is treated, or cat, whatever animal it is treated. Make sure that they're vacuuming consistently. And on top of that, we're treating the carpet areas, we're treating any pet furniture. We have certain aerosols that are rated specifically for that with IGRs in there. The lawns as well are a big factor in there. So I'm treating the lawns. Usually we're using Essentria for that. If you're familiar with that product. But what about you?
No, I mean, that's yeah, you covered it.
Mhm.
The other thing I'm looking at is there a ton of trees, right? Is there a lot of tree cover? Because here we have a lot of squirrels,
Mm.
so there's a lot of other factors in some cases. Now, if it's just a bare lawn, backyard, no trees, nothing, pretty simple. You don't have to think much about it. Go treat those areas, treat the inside, make sure that they're doing their part, and you'll get rid of fleas pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah. So when, and this is where it goes back in, fleas are an interesting one, right? I mean, I hope everyone knows flea eggs are slippery.
Mhm.
They're not sticking onto animals. They are meant to actually fall off the animal, so which is interesting because the animal is the host.
Yeah,
That's their food source.
which is why vacuuming is so important. Sorry to cut you off.
No, 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 because the vibrations actually hatch the eggs.
Mm.
And so those eggs can lay dormant. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think up to 6 months.
I think that's right.
Yeah, it can lay dormant in an area. So you could have an area of your yard that hasn't been touched, you haven't mowed it, whatever it is, and you could have flea eggs in that area. And they could have been sitting there from 3 months ago. And the second you walk through or you start to weed whack or you're mowing your lawn, boom, they start to hatch. They start biting you. They're jumping on your dog, your cat, your livestock, whatever it is. Now you have a flea infestation, right? So it is crucial that they do their part as long, with us
Yeah.
while we're doing our part.
Yeah.
And as long as we're doing that and we're maintaining their service, they typically never have fleas.
Yeah.
They're gone. It's done.
As long as they do their part too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You have to, it's on both parties. They got to do theirs while we do ours.
Because we have gotten those calls before where it's like, you guys treated for fleas and my dog's still going crazy and it's still really bad here. We get out there and it's like there's no dog collar. It's like they admit they don't do it. And they're like, well, shouldn't your guys' pesticides work? And I'm like, they do work. It's just they don't perform miracles. It's like
It's back to education,
Yeah.
right? And that's another thing is, are you educating and taking that time? And you're right. No, of course. Yes, our pesticides will kill the flea.
Yeah.
But you understand the flea is on your dog.
Yeah.
Your flea's not on the carpet.
Yeah.
Where
Not
we
treating
treat
the
it.
dog. Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to do that.
Yeah. We're not spraying pesticides on your dog. You get to do that.
Mhm.
Right. We're treating the areas where the fleas are going to be, but
Mhm.
that's only up to a certain extent. And then
Yeah.
past that, you got to do something. They have to do something.
Mhm.
They got to meet us in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
And as long as they're doing that, you can get rid of them fairly quick and
Mhm.
fairly easily. So yeah, and with the aerosols, that makes it go really fast.
Oh,
or
yeah.
you have some B&G, you can, add in your products there and take care of them that way too. The next seasonal pest, what is it?
Are we going to vertebrae already?
We can. I think we hit all the main ones.
That covered insects. Yeah.
The only other insect I would hit, and this is just, here you go, bonus one for everybody out there, right? Or two, because I give you the tip on the wasp. Earwigs.
Mhm.
Earwigs are the other one that I don't think it matters. I don't even think it matters where you live. I think everybody has earwigs.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's like the most underrated pest.
Yeah. It's the most common one.
I swear it is the most common one.
Mhm.
They're literally always in the inside and they're very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
And if anyone hears that and says, no, they're easy, I got this, please tell me, because I have yet to figure out how to wipe them out 100%.
Mhm.
I know we've done some very thorough things, right? This is where there's one house, I know one lady, she's still in service with us. She's been with us for years and she has earwigs. And I know earwigs, right? This is where you have to know your insect. Earwigs reproduce in high moist areas,
Oh, yeah.
very humid areas. Water has to be present.
Find the drains, find the water.
Yep, because they can't reproduce without it.
Mhm.
So if you know that, then you know where to look. Okay. This house is literally, there's cement all the way around it. There's not any room for water to be anywhere.
There's no water pooling or accumulating anywhere.
No, not that I can find.
Mhm.
I have no idea where it is. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know where the source is. There is only one area I could say that I think that it could be, and it's under her front the front door has a porch,
Mhm.
and it's you can't spray underneath it,
Uh,
and it's a very small area. It's not very big, but that's the only place I can think of where they could possibly coming from. Everywhere else, it's literally dry, and the closest thing that would even be getting wet on a consistent basis is the lawn that is like 15 feet from her back door.
yeah, it's not it.
So, because it's literally all cement all the way up to the lawn.
Yeah.
And even then when you hit the lawn, there's only like a little section that you could walk onto the lawn, and then she has like a rock garden surrounding that. So your lawn is pretty far from the house.
Yeah.
But earwigs are another difficult one, but we dusted the outlets. So we went through and we pulled off all the plates. We dusted the outlets. We're hitting the cracks and crevices. We're sprinkling Niban in the garden areas where there are. If it's rock gardens, we do the same thing in hopes that that calms down. And it has helped. It's never gotten rid of them 100% on that customer.
On that one.
Everybody else, it seems pretty easy as you're constantly spraying and you're hitting those, watery areas or where the moisture can get captured. You're pretty much going to wipe them out pretty quick.
Exactly.
Yeah. So earwigs are the only other one I'd say that I could think of.
Yeah. So for what I'm doing on earwigs, same thing. Obviously, if it's a normal service, spraying the foundations, I'm focusing on where like the sprinkler systems are at, where the hose is at. On the inside, I'm treating the bathrooms, like under the sinks, in the kitchen, if wherever they're seeing them specifically. Like, I mean, if they're having earwigs in the house, sure. If they want me to spray the bedrooms, I will.
Yeah.
But
Glue boards are good.
yeah, glue boards are great for that.
Yep.
Garages will sometimes have like that utility sink in there, that leads inside, and on the back side of it, it's like the washer dryer. You know what I mean? So it's just like
Yeah,
you
hit
got
those
to
areas.
kind of put the map of the house in your head.
Yeah, you're right. And it goes back. Are you being very thorough about where you're spraying,
Yep.
dilution rates, how you're taking care of it, and then
Yep.
setting that expectation with the customer and educating them,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Now the next one that we do deal with is
Mm-hmm.
we do deal with some vertebrae that
Yes.
burrow.
Yeah, we'll do it in order of like highest frequent calls that we've had. Dude, for some reason this year we've had
Oh,
so many voles.
voles have been
So
crazy.
we've treated for voles in the past. I've removed dead voles from properties, but up until about a month or two ago, I've never seen a vole in person. I've seen so many voles on people's properties now, like running around. So if you guys don't know what a vole is, it fits in that same burrowing rodent category. They're about this big, and the tail's about that long. It's like kind of like a
It
chubby little hamster with a short tail.
Yeah, it almost looks like a Norway rat, a little shorter nose, but a Norway rat, like a miniature Norway rat,
Yeah, and it's
and a
got
small
like
tail.
it's pretty like compact. It's like real like
Yeah.
stocky looking.
Yeah, it's like a little, rectangle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you something. So voles are crazy here. I don't know what everyone else is dealing with, but voles are insane this year. We went on a little bike ride 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Right here.
Close, yeah, by
Yeah.
my place. And there's one way that you can take. You can take this trail that's by like a little creek, and then we go up to a store, and do our thing over there. And then there's another way back, and it's more of a main road. And we took that way back. This road, I mean, it's pest control at its finest. Cars have destroyed voles. There were dead voles on the road everywhere. I mean, hundreds of dead voles everywhere, just
On
smashed
a street, like a driving street.
on a driving street. Now
Okay.
there's no houses on this street.
Okay.
It is all
There's like
it's
fields next to the road.
Bradshaw golf course over there.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh, yeah.
all just fields on both sides. There's
Yeah.
actually a fire, like a cement structure where
I
the
know.
firefighters go over there.
Yep.
Literally. And you can't see it when you're driving it because I literally drove it the next day, and you can't see it from the road side of it, like driving side, but on a bike. I was
It's
on
just a
a
vole.
not a motorcycle, on a bicycle.
Yeah.
We were riding, and there were literally just voles everywhere, dead, all over the place, insane. And then even on the trail, because it's more protected, they were just going across as
Mhm.
we were riding our bike.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, it's huge, a ton of them. Now, what are our problems though? What are the problems that we've been running into with them this year?
Oh, well, this year specifically is the rodenticide that we were using is no longer.
It's
So we had to
gone.
get creative. So we were using, I think it's I can't remember the active ingredient, but it's the kaput gopher bait. I know Kaput makes a few products. We were using a little red pellet seed bait that's actually rated for pocket gophers. It's also rated for voles as well. We found that putting it a little bit in the tunnels they were using, eat it after usually single or double feeding, they would die. Which is
I
probably
think it's
why
single feeding and they're dead.
they removed that product from there. So
Yeah, it would wipe them out quick.
we had to go back to the drawing board. We realized that our rodenticide Cilantro in the soft bait packets is actually rated for voles. So now what we do, put those in a bait station, put it by the tunnels. It'll actually hide in there. Works, yes, nowhere close to as good.
No,
Not,
no, no,
not
no.
even close.
Yeah, and there's a lot of methods out there. When I was at the Wildlife Expo, they actually had their own pre-built wooden platforms that they would set on the lawn, and then they had a 2x4 with all the traps attached to it that they would set and put underneath that, and then all the voles would go underneath because they're protected, and then they would all just get caught on those snap traps.
So like underneath it, there were the snap traps.
Yeah, so they just had a big platform. So they just did 2x4s all the way around and then just a hard surface on top. So just a, piece of, wood, plank wood right on top of it.
And then underneath that, they had the traps. So that way
Uh-huh.
they'd go under. Oh, okay.
And then they would just have a whole row of traps that were nailed down onto a 2x4 and they would set that up. And so then all it was is they would set all the, all the rat traps that they had. And they had little holes for the voles to go into the little box that they made. And it actually wasn't little. I mean, this thing was a big box.
Yeah.
So they had a line of like 5, 6 traps on it. And then you would just catch, 5, 6 at a time. Go back out there, pull off all the dead bodies, set it back up, and go again.
That's actually pretty smart.
Yeah. The only problem is it's high maintenance, right?
Oh yeah.
So you got to go out there every couple of days because you can't just have a bunch of dead freaking voles and
for a week.
Just reeking. I mean, it would stink so bad.
Yeah.
And if you have pets, they're going to smell it and then they're going to start digging around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be kind of careful about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because you don't want a dog getting underneath there, and then getting its nose caught on a snap trap or something like that. So there is ways around it, but that's what they were doing at the Wildlife Expo. Some of the guys is they kind of pre-built their own thing and made it that way.
Yeah.
But there's so many ways. You could even do one of the so it's the tin cats, but they're the bigger ones. They're more the industrial style where they'll go in and it spins and they'll just fall. You could actually put that out on the lawn too, because they do want to be, protected. So they find and they see that box, they're going to run and try to get into that box. Once they're in, they can't get out and they're done. Right. So all of that kind of is that factor. But main thing that we've been going to is just the easy bait, placing them, moving those stations around and just keeping an eye on it and making sure. And it's helped and it's reduced the population a ton in those areas. But for some reason they have boomed.
Yeah. It was always, last year we're looking at our burrowing rodents. It was like gophers, moles, and then like voles were way down here in terms of service calls. And now it's like voles are way up here. And then you have moles and gophers, at least for this year,
Yeah. Yeah. Which is really weird. It's they've spiked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is maybe it is the rodenticides and they took that away. And so
be.
now we're so restricted that we're seeing spikes in different ones. And voles eat what gophers will eat.
Exactly.
So they could be eating all the food. And so the gopher population's suffering as voles are just skyrocketing.
Voles are more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I mean, it could be it. Once again, don't take our word for this, guys.
No.
Please don't listen to us on that.
What I was going to say is, a lot of times when we do get restricted, it's still open to the general public to get their hands on stuff that we can't get our hands on. So I tested that theory, and we had a customer who was upset that we couldn't bait for voles the same way. So I was like, hey, why don't you check and see if you can order it, like on DIY Pest or Amazon or whatever.
And they did.
When she was looking it up in her thing, she was like unable to deliver to your service address.
Oh, really?
And she tried a few of them in California because she's here in Folsom. She tried like Sacramento. She tried.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Exactly. So it's like they blocked it off for everybody. So that's when I knew it was like, okay, they really like pumped the brakes on that because it was working too good.
Okay. So. I knew that they did that because I tried to buy a chip for a motorcycle that I had years ago. And the chip that I wanted that I'd put on my bike, actually, they would not sell it to me because I was in California.
Yeah.
if I was outside of California, I could have shipped it to my parents' place in Utah, and then I could have went and got it,
Yeah.
but they would not ship it to me in California. So I had to get a different one to be able to even do it to my bike. So very interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, there we go. We have the test.
There
The
we go.
test of it is you can't even get it
Yeah.
delivered, which I figured they would do as they get more restrict on certain products. Even as a general public, you can get it. You know, at least in California, I know that you have to have a license. Even if you go to some of these feed stores, you know, God, what are they called? Like Tractor Supply,
Yeah.
they'll have some pesticides and things like that. They will ask for your license if you go to buy product,
Mm.
unless they're able to sell it to the general
Sure.
public. But if it's anything that's more, you know, if they have any rule, they will make sure that you have a license, or nope, sorry, we can't even sell it to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So just like alcohol and being 21,
Mhm.
nope.
Show me your license.
Yeah. And most places, I mean, even now with that, all of them have to scan your ID.
Mhm.
In their system. They're requiring it
If you
now.
look like you're under 40, you're gonna get scanned. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
little sign that says it right there.
Yeah. So now, yeah. So it's very interesting how they're kind of doing that with the pesticide stuff. So they
Mhm.
are making that a lot harder to deal with. But yeah, and then also jumping in with the gophers and the moles,
Yeah.
we do have a machine that you can use. It's well known in the industry now. You know, it's the Burrow RX, and you can actually smoke. We just say smoke them out. It's not really smoking
Yeah.
them, um, because there's a little thing that you can actually put oil in, and then the exhaust will burn it. So you see smoke, but it's actually exhaust.
Burrow RX smoke oil, and we get it all the time.
Yeah.
Is that poisonous gas coming out of there? It's just like a little car engine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it is poisonous gas.
It
Yes. If you
is.
sit there and and you're breathing it, yes, you will
That's a
fall
good
asleep
point.
and die.
No more poisonous than the car you have in your garage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's more of a humane way, being in the wonderful state of California that we're in.
Yay.
Everybody worries about that is how are you going to kill them?
Mhm.
And we just use that. The other thing that we just found with those, which is actually kind of a cool thing that you guys can now do, and if you didn't know about it, but they have little traps that will go into the tunneling system,
Mhm.
and so they're like snap traps in a sense, but they're not a snap trap. But you'll actually place those inside the tunnel system and catch them.
Pretty effective if you do it. Pretty effective for knocking down the population if they're there.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 Obviously, it has to be an active burrow,
Yeah.
or it's not going to do anything. But you still charge them.
Yeah. And the good thing with that is when you're actually pulling these traps out and you're pulling out a rodent on that trap, it's a little bit better face value than, probing the holes, baiting, or not baiting anymore, but using the Bro RX machine to, you would use the gas in there and then just saying, hey, if they're in there, they're dead. If not, then I don't know. Cause we're very transparent
Yeah.
with what we're doing there. Cause there's not a ton of guarantees because they are animals. And yeah, the size of this room could just be filled with holes, right? And we're treating all these holes. And if they're in there, great, then we got them. But if not, then that it is what it is. So
Yeah.
the
It's true.
trapping is a way for us to say, look, it's still, there's no guarantees of what we're doing. This has worked in the past. We're going to go to the most active tunnels we can find. And, let's say there's a hole and the burrow goes down both ways. Typically, how I'm doing it is I'm putting 2 trap heads facing each way. So that way, if they try to go back up through the burrow, we're going to get it. And it's easier for me to check. So when I'm popping that top off, I can just pull out the back of it and see if there's on there. If not, I put them back in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very easy. And the trap themselves, what are the name of those traps? I totally plug them because they're nice.
It's not bandit. So,
No, no, no. Bandit's a whole nother
yeah.
brand. Yeah. I don't remember what they're called. We'll have to kind of dive in and look at that.
Yeah.
But most, I know they're on Viserys. You can get them. I think Forshaw has them too.
Yes.
Uh, so probably any distributor. I'm sure Target has them. Target Specialty will have them as well. If you're putting in there like gopher traps or mole traps, and not the like freaking eagle
Stake.
eye, whatever
Yeah.
they're called, hawk sticks. I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah.
But we actually had a guest on who said a lot of people steal those.
Yeah.
So they go and place them, and then people are
Yeah,
going
yeah.
and pulling them out of the ground and stealing them. So we never even went that route because if I can bury your trap and just put a flag on top, then no one's going to be sticking their hand in there.
Yeah, seriously.
And if they do, put it in with that
Yeah.
at your own risk, baby.
Go for it.
Yeah, you want to smash your finger off? Do it, dude. I don't care. But those are kind of the general seasonal pests that we're dealing with now.
Mhm.
And the biggest ones that I would vote on that we didn't talk about spiders. Spiders are easy to take care of, guys.
Yeah.
If you spray thoroughly, you should be fine.
Yeah.
But the main ones, if you're talking vertebrae, voles,
Mhm.
right? 100%. Those things are through the roof right now. It's crazy. On the insect side, right now in the month of July, ants.
Ants.
Ants have been really bad.
Wasps are a close second, but ants definitely.
Uh-huh. Yep. And then as what we saw when before it got really hot, we had a ton of cockroach. So
Yes.
outdoor
Yes, we
cockroaches
did.
that was spiked when it was a little bit cooler.
Mhm.
And then as it really got hot, that's when ants went through the roof, wasps jumped up
Mhm.
there as well. So you kind of you start to pay attention to that. You start to see, okay, what are these pests and what are we going to be coming up against here?
Yeah.
And for us, it's been those ones.
Definitely. And I think it's
Yeah.
also good practice too to kind of look through your days and your weeks if you guys are doing the scheduling or you're the owner or manager. And it's like if you're noticing that we have 3 times as many ant callbacks this last week, have a meeting on how to treat for ants. Like,
Yeah.
be on play offense. Don't just say, "Oh, well, it's just hot right now, so it makes sense." It's like, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing to make sure we're taking care of the problem, that we're doing it properly, and we're all on the same page here? So, kind of keeping stock on where you're sending the effort and what pests you're dealing for, and you can train appropriately for that.
Yeah, and that goes back into anybody who's in the office and office staff that are taking the phone calls.
Mhm.
If you don't have a system that can actually identify what pest you're treating for, or what we've done is we've created specific services for ants,
Mhm.
or ant returns is what we call them. So we know and we can go and run, hey, this is how many ant returns we went and did in this month. So we know ants are up, they're a lot higher
Yeah.
than they were before. But the other thing is, if you don't have a system that can tell you that, what you can do, get a list of
Yeah.
popular insects, and you being the awesome person you are in the office, and you take a phone call and they're like, I'm seeing ants. Boom. Mark one for ants.
Mhm.
Hey, I'm seeing outdoor roaches. Boom. One for outdoor roaches. Oh, hey, I got a lot of spiders. Boom. One for spiders. And then start ticking that off for a week.
Yeah.
And then you can bring that information to the technician manager and say, hey,
Mhm.
I've just been taking track of my calls. I've had 25 people ask about ants and
Mhm.
treating for ants. Just want to give you this information because it may be good to have a training on, ants.
Yeah. Seriously.
So, but those are all things that you can do to kind of separate yourself from the regular basic employee that's sitting next to you, right? That's
Mhm.
going to start setting you apart, and you're going to start really showing what you're made of,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But you can do that. And if you're even just the regular, you're the owner, you're the guy doing the services, you're the one taking those, pay attention to those seasons. And then being you as the sole person doing it, you can actually start treating for ants prior to ants being present,
Yeah.
which we've done and you can do. This area is always bad for ants. Start using those products that you can use in the summer prior to,
That's a good point.
and then you may never see them.
It's a really good point.
Not all the time,
Yeah.
but it could work.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So those are our seasonal pests, Northern
Mhm.
California, July 2024. If you're here with us in California and you agree, let us know. If you're all the way across the country or the world, let us know what you're dealing with too.
Yeah, please.
Hopefully you guys got some good info from this and some of the basic tips and tricks we use to deal with the stuff that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And that's kind of how we come up with these episodes, is we kind of look through and said what happened this week. And we enjoy sharing this stuff with you guys, and we don't really charge anything to put it out. We're here on a Saturday doing it. So
Yeah.
all the guys is liking, and you find value in this and think somebody would benefit, share it with somebody in your office, somebody on your team. We even have some of the guys here listening to it, which is kind of fun and awesome now that they're getting
Yeah.
involved too. It's been a while since we've had a guest or people submitting stuff for Q&A. So we have our website, Instagram, Facebook group, and then obviously YouTube if you're watching us. So there's many ways to get in contact with us.
Yep.
But stay tuned, and thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.